truly blessed to have him here. Reverend Anthony was born and raised in Akron, Ohio, where he spent 46 years of his life. At the age of 3, he was communicating with loved ones who had transitioned into the spirit world. His work with trance mediumship began there and continues to this day. At age 11, Anthony began his development privately with Christ and his guiding influences. By the age of 15, Anthony was working psychic fairs, doing readings. His work continued throughout his life, and in 2010 completed a 4-year program in spiritualist ministry and was ordained at the First Spiritualist Church in Kent, Ohio. After ordination, he began conducting healing and mediumship circles. In 2011, Reverend Anthony was asked by his guides to relocate to San Diego to fulfill his private ministry with mediumship, healing services, and teaching, which he continues to serve today as a self-employed spiritualist minister. Reverend Anthony has now dedicated his life to being in loving service to Christ and all his team of guiding influences. Reverend Anthony, when not working, spends much of his time in prayer, meditation, and deep contemplation with Spirit and his guides. Reverend Anthony offers mediumship readings with art and tarot with oracle cards, energy healing and tuning fork services, and one of Reverend Anthony's greatest passions is teaching mediumship, development, reading, modality, and healing services. And he is offering a message circle today after services. Let's welcome warmly, please, Reverend Anthony.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I absolutely adore having all of you here today to hear this talk. Master Hilarion pictured on the front altar is the author of this talk today. He has channeled this talk. He is one of the 7 ascended masters. He works with some humans who are open to the highest development of metaphysical gifts. He uses his sacred geometry symbol in the center of his chest, which is entitled the Golden Star, to energetically manifest energy for trance mediumship. The ability to ascend to the higher self, to other universal levels of consciousness. I met Master Hilarion about 8 years ago, and due to his guidance and inspirations, I have achieved some of my highest developments working with Spirit. The title of this talk today is Universal Levels of Consciousness, which is one of the masterships of in Spirit. The words following this moment are not mine, but his. I, Master Hilarion, of the highest divine light, of the highest living God, speak to each of you today. I thank you for your time and attention. I am here today speaking through this willing and gifted channel and vessel to share God's wisdom and knowledge about higher levels of consciousness. There are levels of consciousness higher than the earth. These levels of consciousness can be accessed and reached by a human's higher self, traveling and reaching these levels of consciousness. I have some people here today who have worked with transmediumship and can be witnesses and attesters to this process. The first level of consciousness above the earth is the etheric, or as some know it as the ethereal. And I spoke to Deborah this morning and shared that Master Hilarion shares right here that even though this level of consciousness exists higher than earth, it can be accessed by willing mediums, clairvoyants, mediums, healing practitioners. When Deborah taught the auric healing, she talked about staying in the etheric, but this is the higher energy coming around us to work through us as we are doing healing and mediumship. The etheric consciousness is enormously humongous. There are many gateways, entrances, and exits to the etheric consciousness. There is a portion of the etheric consciousness where most transitioned souls are initially received. Their loved ones, guides, and teachers greet them, get them settled and all tucked in, and prepare them for their future movements in spirit world and through different levels of consciousness. Some souls bypass the etheric and are received even higher, but most begin their journey in the etheric. There are many levels and rings to the etheric consciousness. Those humans on earth that have transmediumship abilities can access their higher selves to the etheric and communicate with their guides and teachers there. This process is very helpful to the willing human if decided, because the energy experienced in the higher levels of consciousness is profound, and when utilized properly can be transmuted from the higher self to the human self. It can then impact the human's earth life experience to be more helpful, positive, loving, and healing. This higher energy can assist the human in literally bringing change to the reality of life, to the reality of the life experience on earth, from the impact of the energy in the universe. The next level of consciousness I would like to inform you about is the universal consciousness. This level of consciousness resides as the second major level of consciousness in the universe. This level of consciousness is where guides and teachers reside. The spirit masters gather here to set up divine plans for humans coming back through the divine veil to set in motion the plans for human souls to work with divine guides and teachers. This process occurs. What he's referring to, he wants me to make clear to all of you, is what he just shared is the time that we spend soulfully after we leave this world and go on in spirit. The universal level of consciousness assists souls to be educated and informed of what the divine wishes of them as they come back through. The most difficult thing is, of course, we don't know that. We have to kind of find that out on our journey. That can be challenging. But this is a beautiful explanation of one example of something that happens when souls are through between lifetimes. After a time of growth on earth, the universal level of consciousness serves as infinite intelligence. And that infinite intelligence is hard at work to bring plans of perfection to fruition in the souls of many. If you are a medium who does readings or a Reiki master and work with healing, now you know where your inspirations might have come from, the universal level of consciousness. The infinite divine intelligence of the universal consciousness is where all of this is achieved. For any soul willing to receive these gifts and bring them back and express them in life. There are also many levels and rings to the universal consciousness. The deeper inside the universal, the higher the number of rings. The depth and higher of the rings, the more and more that is done from this level of consciousness. Guiding influence education is also a part of this level of consciousness. What he is sharing here is, when talk about angels, I'll just make it really simple. Angels getting their wings. This is where angels get their wings. This is where they're taught and inspired to be the highest they can be of the God consciousness. Guides are taught, and many things are accomplished here. A few of you may have heard me speak of Tobias. I did a talk with him the first time I spoke about a year ago. And this is where he was educated more to work with me even more in the universal level of consciousness. This level of consciousness is also where humans are taught by Spirit many, many things about how to effectively work with Spirit. A human can request of their higher self to travel to these levels of consciousness and communicate with their divine guides and teachers of Spirit. Also, there are many magnificent sights and visuals in these levels of consciousness. When a human can ascend their levels of consciousness higher, they can enjoy all of these visuals and magnificent sights and beauties of the universe. Humans do not need to wait for transition to experience these levels of consciousness. Here, Master Hoyer would like me to point out again, I talk about the golden star in the center of his chest. He uses this sacred geometry symbol to energetically assist humans when they ask their higher selves to safely travel. He asks that everyone understand that as anyone travels in the higher self, that they ask for protection and bring guides of protection with them. He says, my golden star can manifest from small to huge and gigantic and enormous. It can also stretch and expand it to fit any area inside a person or outside of them. The golden star is all about energy, connecting the points of energy to manifest and create an action and a reaction to energy. This is why God asked even us of spirit to help on earth, he says. I was taught in the universal levels of consciousness, as most teachers of spirit are. In the universal level of consciousness, I was instructed by Christ and by him assigned and given the manifestation of the golden star. Many miraculous things have and will continue to happen in the universal levels of consciousness and on earth when people desire to manifest it. Most humans desire to remain in the earth consciousness where they are comfortable and feel safe. I say, step out of your comfort zones. Come here, he says. Come higher. Don't ever be afraid. Come forward and visit these levels of consciousness to find a real visceral connection. Come visit us here. Feel and experience these levels of consciousness. We await your request to visit here. This is the first time in my history of about 30 years of speaking from different times to ever give a group clinical experience to what's been spoken to me to share with you. Today's one of those days, the second time ever in my career. What I'm going to share with you is only if you desire. You don't have to. So if you desire not to, I have a little clinical exercise to help all of us to maybe make a little connection this morning if you desire. I'm going to sort of lead you through that. Very, very, very simple. First, just surrender your day in these beautiful meditations that we had this morning. Just go back there. Focus on your breath and the chair beneath you which supports you. Call the guide of protection if you know of one or have one. Michael and others, spirit animals. You can ask your higher self to step out now. Ask your higher self to ascend you from the earth consciousness to the etheric consciousness. It's possible that we're going to stay here just for a couple of minutes. A guide, a family member, friend, or loved one might greet you. Enjoy a couple of minutes with them while we pause. You can ask your guide or loved one for a message. This message can be perceived in any way. Sense, feeling, knowing, hearing, or seeing. We would like to thank our guide, our loved one, for this experience. If you could now ask your higher selves to descend your level of consciousness from the etheric to the earth consciousness. And ask your higher self to step back in. Ask Mother Earth to firmly ground you. And then it is important to completely and fully disconnect yourself from this connection for the moment, and you're fully complete. The disconnection process does not take away or end the energy of our experience, but only that we are firmly back here with the Church's vibration to move forward with our days. Take this experience with you today. Cherish it. Hold it in your hearts. Remember and recall it any time when any day is difficult or challenging, or even when it is a good day, a bright day and a loving day. Remember it. Return here where you were anytime you like. Master Hilarion says we will be here to receive each of you and give you words of wisdom, pleasant envisionments, and peace. I would like to thank all of you for listening to Master Hilarion's talk today.